How has Newcastle evolved over time?
How has Newcastle over time?
Like evolved over time.
Oh, how has it evolved? Wow. You mean, I guess in my lifetime. I don't know, you should ask your teacher that too, Christy, or Mrs. Williamson. I don't, it's a tough question. I guess I should have had some prep. You know, part of me wants to say it really hasn't evolved a lot over time.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of things like haven't changed. Obviously, industries kind of changed because, you know, Chrysler was big when we were growing up, and now Chrysler's gone, and so you have other things like Crown and Boar's Head and you know, TS Tech and other industry. You know, where people have jobs, but like when we were growing up, you know, it seemed like almost every, you know, parent or grandparent worked at Chrysler, and that's, you know, that's definitely changed or evolved. I guess I'll say one thing that's really evolved is our downtown. You know, I think the current mayor and stuff has tried to really, you know, make downtown a place to go to. And I know they're still working on that, but you know, when we were kids, they had like J.C. Penney and Sears, and you actually had stores that you would go to down there downtown, and now all that's like closed, and now they're, you know, revamping that to something else. So I don't know, hopefully it answered your question a little bit.
Yeah, that was a really good answer.
Thank you.
All right, next is what made you want to coach at Newcastle?
Oh wow. Well, I mean, I never thought that I would move back to Newcastle. I never said never, but I never really thought I would. But then, you know, my wife got a job here, and I work virtual, so I can really live anywhere. So, and I had coached her college team previously as an assistant coach when we lived in Florida. So that kind of planted the seed. But then when I moved back to Newcastle, my coach, Mr. Pryor, was like right at the end of his career, and his daughter was getting ready to run Division I for Miami of Ohio. So he called me and he said, hey, you know, we need some help, and you know, if you'd like to volunteer. So so that's what I did. I volunteered, and then was a volunteer for like at least for cross country for like 17 years, and for track I was a volunteer for like 10. And that just kind of planted the seed, and it just kind of evolved. So then I really got excited, and especially in the last few years, I feel like I've always been a student of the sport. Even when I was in high school, you know, I was always reading like Runner's World, and I was always reading, and so now I'm doing the same thing, only as a coach. So I'm always reading, I'm always evolving. I'm not like, I can't stay stagnant, and you know, everything's always changing, and the athletes change, and the needs of the athletes change. So but yeah, it was that phone call in like 2021 or 2020 from my former coach that said, hey, we need some help. So that's how it started.
That's cool. What college were you an assistant for down in Florida?
Amy went to Eckerd College. It's right at St. Pete, right on the mouth of Tampa Bay. It's on the water. So yeah, and they don't even have a track team. They only had boys and girls cross country. So I helped with boys and girls cross country.
That's cool. Next we have, who has had the biggest impact on your life and why?
Who?
Yeah, who?
Oh gosh, I mean, you'd have to say your parents, right? So yes, definitely my mom and dad, and I would say probably more my dad, because you go back to how has Newcastle evolved. So he did not work at Chrysler. He worked at Westinghouse, which is in Muncie, which is now the train factory in Muncie. So he was a factory worker, and you know, really worked really, really hard, and to provide for his family. And you know, one of the things that, like, I guess back to track and cross country, even though he worked a lot of overtime and worked really hard, he would take time off, or you know, kind of not accept overtime to basically he didn't miss any of my meets, so he wouldn't miss any of my cross country or track meets. He would always make time, no matter how busy he was, to be there for the meets. And he's just always just a positive influence, just a very positive person, and always gave really constructive feedback. Never critical, just always supportive, and always supportive of my kids and my family. So I guess first and foremost, I have to say my dad.
That's good. That was a good answer. Next, we have what has been the most important lesson Newcastle has taught you?
Oh, wow. Most important lesson Newcastle has taught me. Newcastle's certainly not without its faults, but I think one of the things, moving back here, because I was moved away for college and then moved to Florida, and then we actually lived in Dayton, Ohio, and then we lived in like the New Pal district for a little while. So, when I moved back from Florida just to the Midwest, it was like, you don't believe it, but you miss the cornfields and the wide open spaces. But the thing about Newcastle is it's home. It's just always been home. And then B is just, the people are just genuine for the most part. And, everybody's kind of, for the most part, is very friendly and, just accepting. And so I think that's it for me, is just people are just very accepting, I think.
Yeah, that's what everybody we've interviewed has said, that the people here, the reason why they stay here and stuff. So.
Oh, good.
All right, next is, how do you think you and your coaching have had an impact on Newcastle?
Oh, well, I hope. So part of the reason when I was asked to start coaching was I just wanted to give back to the sport that I love. And it's given me so much, from high school and then running in college and then running. I've basically been running since I was 13 years old. So, and my dad, back to my dad, he introduced me to that. So he was training for a marathon, and I just started running with him down the railroad tracks by our house. So when I was asked to coach, the one thing I wanted to do was give back to the sport that has meant so much to me, and hopefully make a difference in, young people's lives, not just for the running, but for the personal aspect of it. So, when you're a coach, you're not just the coach of the sport, you're trying to make a positive impact for their life. And honestly, I get a lot out of it too. So you guys, the athletes, give me a lot. So, there's satisfaction in that. So, hopefully I've made a difference. And I know I've had athletes that have come back and said, even some of my more difficult athletes have come back and said, hey coach, I'm sorry I was like that, and I appreciate what you did. And, that kind of thing. And that means a lot. So, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, that did. And then lastly, what do you think is the best thing about cross country and track compared to other sports?
Oh, well, cross country, of course, is my favorite because it's a team, right? Everybody's running the same distance, varsity and JV, and it's just more of a unified, there's just more unity there. So I love cross country from that aspect. I like track because, and we try to build, team with track, but, every coach that I've talked to, and I've been to a lot of seminars and read a lot of books, it's just difficult because everybody's doing so many different events. There's, I think in high school track, I can't remember, 12 or 16 events, and, you just can't be with everybody all the time like you can be in track. But you try to build the unity for the, like the distance squad as an example. But the thing I really like about track in high school and in college is just the precision of it. Like if you know what your goal is, and you know what your 200 meter splits need to be to, for your mile goal or your 800 goal or your 3200 goal, you know, if you're on and you're hitting those splits every 200, you know you're going to achieve your goal. So I like the precision of track, and I like the team unity of cross country.
Yeah. When I started, Anya made me, like, I didn't even want to run. She just, like, made me run a mile outside and it was like, oh, you're doing cross country with me next year. I was like, okay, fine. And then, yeah, the team aspect of it I really like that about it. So,
Cool.
yeah, so that's the interview. Thanks for joining.